What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about the reasons why the dating market is extremely challenging and hard, and how social media, society, it really brainwashed how the average female views a man or how connections should be. So let's get to it. So because of social media programming, because a lot of toxicity within the music industry, within the mainstream media and stuff like that, a lot of females think that they're better than the average man. Now, I understand females, they have they're very observant. They need to be observant. They need to detect a potential guy that they will be in a connection with out of survival purposes for their babies. So that's like women like to shit test and act difficult. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a lot of women are very entitled these days. The reason why most women are very entitled these days is because they'll look at things at social media and they think that their life should be a certain way, or like how they should be treated a certain way. And reality is unrealistic, because real life is different compared to social media. So a lot of women, they're very narcissistic. They think they're better than the average person. In reality, they're not. They themselves have a lot to work on. Most females don't work on themselves. Most females think that life should be handed to them. This is why females like to use their body in order for them to get money, like OnlyFans. They like to use men for money in exchange for sex. They think they could use their bodies just so they can navigate through life and like that. But because we have a lot of males that are desperate for attention, and the reason why we have a lot of males that are desperate for attention and females that are very stuck up and entitled is because of the society, how it's set up, and because of social media. Before social media wasn't present like that, the dating market was a lot more smoother and easier. But because of social media, we have a lot of like mainstream channels, mainstream people who has a large following. They like to promote, part of society's agenda is that they like to make people who are popular, people who are mainstream, to promote a lot of bullshit so they could divide the collective, so they could divide people. So they promote a lot of bullshit like feminism and gender wars and stuff like that. So there's a lot of tension when it comes to male and females. And society does that. So this is why like the average females are very entitled, because they feel like men have to pay for them in order for them to go to dates. I'm not saying you should court, you should not provide or take care for your women, but what I'm saying is that women feel like they don't have to offer or bring much to the table compared to a man, and that the females think that every man should bow down to them. In reality, that's not the case. That's not how life is. And a lot of men are starting to realize that and quote unquote take their power back. So so there's a lot of tension going on. So this is why like most females, at least in America, I'm only talking about females in America, but a lot of females in America, they're very stuck up, they're very stubborn, and they think they're better than the average person. But in reality, they're not. They're just delusional because of social media, and because society traumatizes a lot of people, because society is very corrupted, it's very restrictive, it's very violent. It forces human beings to be in constant survival mode, basically. So with females, um, because what they see on social media, feel like they should act like that in real life. So they can have a good or multiple good dudes approaching them, but because if they're not making a certain amount of money, if they don't have a certain amount of status, if they don't have a certain amount of fame, most females are going to reject these people because they feel like they deserve a person who is famous. They feel like they deserve a male who is rich, who's financially free, who's fucking 7 feet tall, fucking swole. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, these females, they're not even at their level. They can't even put in half as much work, and they can't even provide the amount of expectations that they place towards other men. So for example, so a lot of women, they're not doing the healing work. They're not doing the emotional labor for themselves to heal and to become more feminine, for them to become more soft. Instead, they're very guarded. they're very like mean, they're very strict, and they're very masculine, and that pushes a lot of men away. And as they get older, they're gonna be alone, and then they wonder why no one wants to approach them, or how come they can't get a type of dude that they want, and why they're sad and lonely. Is because they're pushing a lot of people away because they're brainwashed by social media. They think they're entitled. In reality, when it comes to connections and dating, you should go for someone that, one, you have an attraction for, but two, there's an equal connection that you feel connected to, you know. But a lot of women, because they're so prideful, they're so arrogant, they're so egotistical, they feel like they could get any man they want. In reality, they're pushing them away, and a sane person will say this: the reason why she's single still is because she's pushing a lot of men away. But from a female's perspective, she's thinking, oh, I don't need these men because the best is yet to come, and I'm just waiting for the right time for the right man to come to my life. In reality, so that's how delusional they are. So they're pushing good people away, but because what they see on social media and their programming, and because of society, they think that she could get away with being a shitty person by pushing people away, basically. But yeah, so it's hard to explain. So basically, with these women, they play victim a lot. They play victim. Most women have a lot of opportunities to have good people into their life, but they push them away due to expectations, due to them being delusional. And because they're not doing the healing work, they become more delusional, you know? So let's say a female, right? She's very narcissistic. She's very stuck up. She's very masculine. She's very guarded, right? And she pushes good men away, right? In her head, she thinks that she's better than most people and that she deserves something better. In reality, she pushed away a lot of good potential connections that could have really made her happy. But because she pushed them away, she can't even fucking see that because she's too fucking delusional based on social media and on the media and what's out there when it comes to mainstream news and shit like that, you know? So that's part of the reason of the gender wars and feminisms and stuff like that. So this is why a lot of men have a lot of issues and they're having a lot of tensions and they don't like women, dealing with women in America. This is why most men are going overseas to find women that are a perfect match for them, because apparently more women overseas, they're more feminine, they're more traditional, they're more nicer, and they're more they're more healed. They're less delusional compared to America, because there's so much mainstream shit, there's so much social media programming. A lot of women are very narcissistic, they're very mean, they're very guarded, and they're very entitled in America. This is why it's hard for men to really approach women like that and stuff. They're very delusional, and based on programming, they feel like women have to do less work compared to the men. Men have to provide money, they have to provide everything to the table, while the woman doesn't do shit, you know. So because of that programming, the woman, what she'll do is that she'll not do the healing work. She will not work on herself. She will not work on basic things that a woman needs to know, like cooking, being feminine, being nice, being nurturing, having emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. They're not going to do those things because of social media programming. And you also got parents that most parents are in dysfunctional connections. A lot of parents are divorced. A lot of parents are going through breakups. A lot of parents aren't a good fit for each other. And because there's lack of proper parenting, the reason why there's a lack of proper parenting and they're not teaching future generations how to love properly is because of society, because everything revolves around money, because people have to work just to make money, because the government is increasing prices and the economy is going down and stuff like that. It's causing parents and relationships to fall apart. So it's a huge domino effect. So there's lack of proper parenting. There's a lot of bullshit being promoted within social media and within the media and news, etc. And there's a lot of agendas like the gender war, feminism movement, and shit like that, which just causes men and females to have a lot of conflict and issues. So that's all I got to say. Have a good one. Peace.